All right, so we've got about 15 minutes left in the boil on our Airborne Vienna Lager. And so at this point, I'm going to be adding a yeast nutrient. Yeast nutrient especially is important on when you're going to be harvesting yeast. People have different ideas on this, to be honest. There's different debate about how much of this gets through into the fermenter. I do it. My supplier recommends it. Could they just be slinging it to me? I don't know, but I do it. Anyways, it's a zinc-rich yeast that I'm using called Cervomyces. I slurry it up just so I know it's not going to clump up a bunch. I add it to the kettle with about 15 minutes left. Really, at this point, there's only one other step before we're done with the boil. I am going to be adding some Whirlfloc. Two words combined there: whirl for whirlpool, and then floc or flocculation. It's an additive that is meant to help clarify the kettle, to make small particulate clump together, get larger and heavier. And then when I whirlpool that kettle and then allow it to stop, it'll create a cone of that protein, grain husk, grain particulate, different things like that. And it'll pull that trube cone into the center, so I'll be able to draw more clear wort off the side of the kettle. It's just an efficiency thing. It helps me to get more volume out of the kettle and also clearer wort. So I will see you in a few minutes when we add the Whirlfloc. All right, so we only have 5 minutes left in the brew day for Airborne, and we are going to be throwing our Whirlfloc in. Whirlfloc is just tablets like this. This is going to help create larger particulate in the kettle, so they will drop out. I'll be able to separate the protein, the trube, and even the grain particle that happened to made it through this far through the process. That'll help to cone that up in the center of the kettle after the whirlpool, and it'll help me pull more clear wort out of the kettle. As with anything, when I add this stuff, I always stick around to make sure that it's going to take it all right. Again, one of my biggest concerns is that I will be getting some sort of boil over situation. It's probably one of the things, tripping, falling off of stuff, yeah, all that stuff too. But boil over, especially from a managerial standpoint, it's one of the things that I'm very concerned about, and things like that. Really, all this is about, this whole thing is about doing these processes safely. That's what I always tell the people that I'm training. So anyways, we only have a handful of minutes before we kill the steam and end our 90-minute boil. At that point, we will spin the kettle by turning the kettle pump on and opening up the whirlpool arm, and it'll start circulating that wort in there. We're only going to do that for about 5 minutes, turn it off. We're going to let it rest for about 20 to 25 minutes, and then we'll be able to start running it through the heat exchanger to the fermenter. I just said in the last clip that I'm going to be turning the steam off the kettle, but before I do that, I will be opening up the whirlpool valve, and I will be opening up the kettle drain. So what's going to happen is wort is going to come out of that kettle drain, go over here, come out into this pump, and go back and around here, okay? So what this will do is, this union right here, this is where the wort will come out from the kettle, and this port right here will either let me send it to the whirlpool over there or to the heat exchanger over here. But I'm just going to walk you through everything. I'll be turning off the steam. I'm going to show you every time I hit a switch, and I'll be flipping the camera around. So maybe it'll be garbage, maybe it won't. But anyways, we're coming up real close on my timer for the kettle. Here's my timer for the kettle, and the cutest baby ever. All right, there's our timer for the kettle, meaning that our 90-minute boil is done. I'm going to turn the steam off I'm going to turn the steam off to the kettle, and then I'm going to turn the Whirlpool pump. Come on. All right. Brew kettle off. Secondary valve closed. The heat is now off the kettle. I'm closing the door, coming down here. I am turning on the kettle pump to 6. My Whirlpool valve is open. My kettle drain is open, so it's being pumped from the bottom of the kettle back up into the Whirlpool. And we're gonna see this where it's starting to turn a little bit now. A little bit of vortex, big kick of steam. Very difficult to see in there, but believe me, it's spinning. We're gonna let that spin for 5 minutes, and then we'll shut it off and let it settle for 20 to 25 minutes, and then we'll start running off through the heat exchanger to the fermenter. All right, this is the end of the Whirlpool for me. So I'm coming over, I'm killing the kettle pump. Then I'm coming over and I'm closing the Whirlpool valve, boom. And I'm also just gonna close the kettle drain. What's coming up next is, I had mentioned before that this connection point right here can either send me up and over to the Whirlpool or up and over to the heat exchanger. So that's where the wort is gonna go next. I just need to open up the heat exchanger inlet valve, and that will allow the wort to then run through the heat exchanger to the fermenter. I already have our water hooked up, so yeah, I'll hook my gas up and that'll be it. We're gonna take you through this knockout process right now. Josh, can you turn both water sources on, please? It's just the valve right there, and then back on the brew house for the city water. There's CLT water engaged. And Josh, we're gonna turn that pump on to 25 when we, you can actually kick it on real quick and just set it to 25 and then turn it off. 20, I'll dialed in, baby. Dialed in. All right, about 30 seconds left. All right, so what we have going on is right now we are kind of pre-cooling the heat exchanger with the last couple minutes here, with the last little bit here before we start running off. We have cold water coming from the CLT that we will be pumping through, and we have city water that are running through one of those two sources. The city water is actually recaptured back into the HLT, already hot, so that is some water savings there. And as soon as this alarm goes off, we're gonna start knocking out this kettle. All right, Josh, I think we're all set, man. I think gas is not on, but we'll turn that on when we start doing our thing. Do you want to open over there? So that's 1. This will be 2. The heat exchange. Just the valve. Yeah, both of those open. Yep. And then just the one to the tank closed. Correct. And then what we're going to do is we're going to walk this backwards, and so that means we're going to go heat exchanger, and then kettle bottom, and we're going to start getting that through, okay? And then I am going to follow you through this. You should be able to turn it up to about, when you turn the pump on, it'll be 1, it'll be that valve, it'll be the kettle drain, and then turn the pump on to at least 7, I think. And then we'll start tracking it, and I'm going to walk through. Go ahead. Start running through, hit the drain. All right. And so what's going to start happening is we're going to start pushing liquid through that hose right here. That's running all the way around. It's kicking out here. It's kicking out, let's do this. It's kicking out here, let that go longer. All right, cut it right there. All right, and then we're gonna see some pressure build in our blow-off bucket here. If everything is going well. if our tank is appropriately sealed. Let's see here. Boom, there it is. Okay, cool. I'll get your gas on, Josh. All right, I just turned the gas on, the CO2 on, and we're gonna bump open the sight glass. Then we got O2 going through into the cold wort, running through this line here, and try this again. Running through this line here, all the way over to here. It's popping off right there. Everything's good. Now in just a minute, we're gonna be adding the new pitch of yeast to the top of the tank. And we're gonna get moving. We're gonna check and make sure that we're running off at 50 degrees, which is where I wanna be running off for this lager, and should be good. All right, everybody, thank you so much for watching. If you feel as if you got any value out of the video, please like and subscribe. There are also other videos that you can watch. They're gonna maybe be over here or over here. Appreciate you watching.